Back, and also welcome back the Dappled Light Fairy, aka the Sun, who is gracing us with her presence today. Just trying to think of something more majestic than that. Anyway, here's what I got for you today. It is how to learn anyone's name in seconds. Now, this is one of the Kwik memory techniques. I should probably link to that video in the description. But this is very simple, but it does require your concentration. So essentially, you need to care enough to actually want to learn the person's name, which is sometimes hard because sometimes someone introduces themselves and then they babble for a bit and then they say something that catches your interest and you're like, oh, we would make good friends, but you've already forgot their name. Whatever, just ask them again. But when you want to remember a person's name, here's the trick. You pretend like you are 5 and you create an imaginary story with that person's name. So, for example, let's say that the person's name is Jared Tibbs. How can I remember this name? Well, I can imagine, what does Jared sound like? Well, it's got the word red in it. Jared. So I'm going to imagine a red letter J. So I'm looking at this person right now. I see their face, and in my mind, I replace their body with the letter J. So they don't have arms anymore. They've got a letter J. They're missing a leg, and the other one's hooked around, and they're hobbling. So I'm going to try not to laugh while I'm imagining this, but I promise you, this works. I have memorized people's names this way. So you find something that you relate the name to, and then you imagine it in your head, and then you create a situation. So say I met this person at a speech conference. So I'm going to imagine I'm walking into the speech conference and I don't even know if there are such things as speech conferences. I don't know why I said that. I guess because programming languages, and then I go to programming language Anyway, so I walk in the door and I see J-Red, and he's right there, and what a funny sight to see him all red in the letter J. And then I need to remember his last name, which is Tibbs. So the funny thing about my Jared here is that in the middle of his J, there is not one, but 2 tibias. So both legs are conjoined together as part of the letter J, and I can somehow discern, poking out of this red refrigerator magnet looking J, that this is actually tibias somehow. And I remember that. And so now I have an image and a story in my mind. I walk into the conference. I see, oh, how funny. Jared's here, and he's a red letter J. And what's so weird about this red letter J is that it's got Jared's head on top, of course. And then it's got 2 pieces of leg that are conjoined together right in the middle as part of the J that are the 2 tibias. So he's Jared Tibbs. All right. Now, this is a real tactic that I am actually using. I don't necessarily recommend that you explain to people how you remember their name, because I come up with some crazy stories, but I've been doing a good job of remembering very strange names, and sometimes you have to break it down because it'll be a really weird foreign name, and so you have to come up with maybe 3 or 4 pieces of the story. Maybe you have to add in some actions. For example, if they were Polander, let's say that's a last name. So we have let's say it's Jared Polander. So the funny thing I can remember about him is that he's running and he's got his pole vault, and then he sticks it in the ground and he flips over, and then amazingly he lands on the T part of the J, meaning the extended part. Is I'm imagining this is again a refrigerator magnet J. So he did a pole vault and he landed on his head. So he is Jared Polander now. So yeah, you can take, I think Tibbs is kind of that way too. It's kind of a weird name. But anyway, you can take people's names, relate it to something that you know, and create an actual story. Create a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Maybe a part where you laugh, a part where you're surprised. You're acting like you're 5, you're playing pretend. But I guarantee you, 100%, with a little bit of practice, you can remember people's names this way. And typically, you have enough time, because it takes more than 2 seconds to do this. But typically, you have enough time that you can store their name in short-term memory while you're listening to them, and then construct the story maybe during a pause or right after you speak to them. And often right after you speak to them is a great time to say, I'm sorry, I already forgot your name. What was that again? So then you can make sure you're clear if that's the case. Anyway, I hope that this is helpful for you. If it was, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, and you can consider subscribing for my other morning shower thoughts and life tips and things that I learned from people that are much smarter than me. That will be in the description in the comments below. Actually, I have to add that because I didn't put that in the description when I started the video. Oops. Anyway, I hope that you have the best Saturday ever. Adios. Wait, sometimes I do that. It's a little too... Wait. Adios. Yeah, I like that one better. Much better. I gotta find... Where's my keyboard?